Yeah, my name is Christian. I'm working for Red Hat since about like 3 years, working on OpenStack Swift for more than 4 years actually now. And yeah.
Yeah, my name is Thiago da Silva. I work on OpenStack Swift also, and I've been working at Red Hat since 2013. I have been working on Swift for about two to 3 years. And this is what we keep doing, just working upstream with the community, contributing there. And there's a lot of work going on. In Ocata, we focused a lot on making improvements to the source code. It was a shorter release, so we continue doing work that is long term. New features that we are working on, and we did a lot of focus also on just improving features that are already there today. For example, erasure coding. We also working on some new features that got started, and we're kind of building on what we have already done and trying to add on to them. So Christian has been doing a lot of work on OO integration.
Yeah. So one part that we are actively working on is better integration for Swift within other projects. That's both a community thing within the more global OpenStack community, but it's also important to make it easier to use for operators to actually deploy Swift, to run Swift at scale. When you're running Swift, it's normally at larger scales. You typically want to start with many people are running at a petabyte scale, right? So you have a lot of nodes that you need to orchestrate about, and it's important that operators have the right tools to get the job done, actually. So within OO, we were looking how we can improve the existing integration with Swift. And this is actually a long-term plan, so we did quite a few improvements within the last release, especially tuning settings. We saw some performance settings that were not optimal, let's call it like that, and they came up basically because Swift is used more globally now within the OO deployments. For example, Celometers started using Swift. And apart from that, we also improved tools that are important when you upscale deployments, for example, to remove steps that were required to do them manually before. They are now
Automating that process.
Automated, and that's part of a more global effort to improve things. And this will continue within the next few releases probably. So what we are looking into is even building clusters and upscaling clusters to automate even more steps. For example, when you add more nodes with more disks, to automatically include them within the Swift deployment.
Right. It's all about improving usability for the operator, trying to make things as easy as possible for operators to deploy clusters and manage clusters, right? As they need to scale them out, change failed devices, change failed nodes, trying to improve that usability for them. Some other work that we've done or continue to work on is, for example, encryption, where in the Newton release that was introduced in Swift, and now we started to work to actually add integration with Barbican, so we can get the root key from Barbican and encrypt the data in Swift that way. So that's not something that was there today, but it's being worked on in the community. The other work that we're doing, again, building on a foundation that was already there in Swift, is deploying what we call global erasure coding. So today you have an erasure coded storage policy, but that has to be deployed to only one data center. We don't have the support to have a erasure coded policy that spans multiple data centers. That's what we're working on. We want to have that available in the next release.
And this is all about basically operators' requests. Operators running at scale, running large clusters distributed across the globe, and these requests are basically just like, okay, we want this, we need this, the community is actively working on a long-term plan. Another part that we actively worked on during the last release, which is not yet merged, but it will be probably merged maybe this week already, is to increase partition power. So Swift distributes data across many disks, and when you set up clusters first time, you need to set a special parameter, and until now it was fixed. So when you upscale a cluster to very large size, let's say 100 times the size that you started with, then you want to increase the setting. And this new patch, which is really a long-term effort as well, we started working on that or designing this feature like 1.5 years ago, maybe 2 years ago already, is now ready to merge, and it's a huge patch. But sometimes these features take a long time because actually Swift is a storage system. So if you break things, it's not just like a VM that stops working and that you fix, right? We want to ensure that we never lose data from our users, from our customers. So it's really important to get things right the first time and to avoid like stuff that breaks things.
I think some of the exciting stuff that's really coming out too is work that the community as a whole is doing with involvement from a lot of different companies revolves around data tiering. So operators set up a storage policy, their users start putting a lot of data into them, typically triple replicated, and before you know it, that data is getting cold, and now they would prefer to move that data to a colder, cheaper data tier. And that actually is something that we started working on with everybody in the community. Really, many different companies in the community are involved. It's really a community effort that also has attracted companies like IBM and Panasonic with their high latency media and wanting to integrate that and being able to store to even some high latency media devices like tape, for example, or DVDs, and that is, I think it's pretty interesting in what's coming ahead in Swift. Might take a couple releases to get there, but I think there's strong effort in the community to see that happen.
Right. It's as Thiago already said. It's basically about even decreasing the costs even more. So typically, Swift runs on very cheap hardware. You don't want to use expensive storage backends on Swift servers. You just use plain SATA disks, for example. And this comes down to operators that have data that they want to store for long term, like archive data, needs to be stored on even cheaper systems. And that's really interesting progress. And it's also interesting to see the contributions from these companies because they have a different approach when they look at data, right? Right now it was more like, this is hot data that is accessed very frequently, but these companies are in the business for a long time already. They have customers that request this kind of storage systems, and seeing this integrated into Swift is quite interesting and great to see.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah.